And the lady wanted,
Oh,
oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah, got it. I got called by National Public Radio today here in Kansas City, KCUR. If you look that up, you'll see the station because Rick looked it up, and he immediately saw it was one of those public radio stations. Okay, and they wanted to interview me. She wanted to interview me today. As soon as she talked to me, but what she wants to interview me about is that she had me on the air a year ago, back before the pandemic, and what I was on there with the one of the leaders in the environmental movement here in Kansas City. She had him and I on there, and what she got out of me was how the low income community is not being touched, how the low income community has a the lack of a climate change consciousness, and that the industry is misfiring on the low income community. And I told her about the creation of the jobs, and getting out teaching people how if we use something like that, we can teach them the consciousness that they need as far as the greenhouse gas reduction is concerned. And I told her this a year ago, a little while ago. Well, all of a sudden, now that we moved to a point where that's becoming a factor in the nation, her station told her to get in touch with me, see if she could get me on there. That'd be good radio to talk to me about it. Well, Michael, she did what she shouldn't have done. She talked to me. She needed to be talking to some agent of mine who could have told her what it was we could do. Because she talked to me, I blew her out. I blew her out, and it blew her mind. I mean, when she started hearing all the stuff that I did, I said, "We want to start? I can start with just coming in from Boston. I was in Boston last week, and I said, and that whole conference, was geared toward the cap agencies work with your low income community. That's who they work with. Everyone that was there from Washington, D.C., and every place to put on seminars and stuff, it's all about the money that's available for you to be able to work with your low income community. Okay, the ones I went there to deal with was weatherization, because my whole program is dealing with retrofitting these homes in the inner city. Some of them 100 years old. They have never been touched. And that's what they want to do. But not one word was said about training and hiring the people who live in the inner city. What they're going to do is to get that money. And I sit in that room, and everybody in there represented an agency, probably but me. I'm the only individual in that whole room that did not represent an agency. I represent a total city, a community. I represent people. I'm not, even though I'm here with an agency, I'm, as president of my agency, I'm leading them to care about people. On that level, that's what they would prefer to do. But the industry has them dotting I's and crossing T's so much that they don't have time to even think about programs. All they can think about is the grants that they are being told they have to manage, like that whole conference. Okay, that's what it was about. So I went up and introduced myself to the Department of Energy lady and told her where I was and told her I wanted to talk to her. I said, give me your card and I'll get in touch with you when I get back home. I said, because of all the things that you said there and talked about, none of it had anything to do with being able to benefit the people who need it the most. Now, she felt that. She wants that. She was so impressed with hearing me say what I was saying, she made me write down my email address, because she said, I'm going to get in touch with you, because a lot of times people come to these conferences, oh, I'm going to get in touch with you, and I never hear from them again. Well, I said, don't worry about it. You're going to hear from me. And I said, because I like to talk to you about some of the things we're trying to do to see what kind of advice you can give on how we can get this on the table. I don't want to put it on the tables, just like when you wanted to do that thing with Barbara Boxer. And I told him about that. I said, I don't want to put it on the table. And the person that's at that table ends up sharing it with their constituencies, like the Black Chamber, or not the Black Chamber, the Black Caucus. And I got some dude in Wherewithal, Mississippi, or some place that hears it and then goes into his community and tries to enact it, taken away from them giving a damn about what we're talking about putting together. That's where we are now. Okay, that's where we are as a working body. My guy Rick is back, and he got fired on his job in Denver. I haven't heard yet why. He was up there trying to earn some money to make up all the money he blew dealing with that damn conference. We're following around behind them Trump people in that 90,000, what was it, a $90,000 truck that he bought and all that kind of stuff that he was fixing up as his home. You gotta love him. I mean, but like I told him, there was a reason for all that happening, because when we come back out, he's going to know some folks along the way that he got a chance to meet. Plus, he got a chance to introduce me to that group. They know who I am too. So that's what she wanted to do. So it blew her out. She went, oh boy, I don't know what I'm going to do, Richard. I got to go talk to my boss, And I understood what was it. She said, I'm going to talk to him and I'll call you back. I waited all day. She didn't call me back. So, me being the manipulative person that I have learned to become, so I saw her, she called me that morning, and I went to that number she had called on, and I texted and said, I'm not for sure if you were trying to reach me by email. You said you sent me an email this morning. When I went back to my account, I didn't have it. It's highly possible you don't have the right email address for me. So I'm going to send you my email address just in case you want to reach out to me again. You can just utilize this email address, and that way you'll reach me. Well, she called me. Okay, that made her call me. She texted me, and she said, that's right. She said, can I call you now? And I said, yeah, call me. I'm good up until 6 o'clock. She called me about 5:15. I said, I'm good up to about 6 o'clock because I got another meeting, the appointment there. So she called me, and I blew her out. Her boss then told her it's too complicated for what she had the assignment to fulfill. And I said, I knew that. I said, what I wanted to do was to give you an overview of what it is that actually I'm engaged with. I said, because I think it's something that you all what I did this morning was plant seeds. So now, like, she wants to get back with me in a couple of weeks. Maybe we can get back together in a couple of weeks, because they had an agenda. They had something that they had sit down, and this is what we're going to do. And we'll bring people in every week, and we'll talk to them about what it is we want to talk to them about. But you don't talk to Richard about what you want to talk to Richard about. You talk to Richard about what Richard wants to talk to you about. That's a different ball game. And I don't have any axe to grind, but at the same time, I'm being honest with you. I have for real, I'm telling you about what I just experienced in Boston. I mean, not last year, not 6 months ago, last week. Current. Yes, what are we? See, nobody's talking about the refugees. They getting ready to cause a problem over here. Americans are mad. Americans are mad. I was right. I told her this morning when I was talking to her, I said I was riding in the airport shuttle that takes you out to the economy parking, where my group EOF we all went out in a couple of vans, and that way we parked out there. We traveled together. And the lady was on that daggum bus that takes you back out to the economy parking. and she saw my uh, hat. And she immediately started to, I had my military, I had my army hat on. I always do that when I go to places like back east. So airports and shit. So people, because I'm black, they don't look at me with a mask on, like I'm getting ready to rob them. They see my hat. So I don't have to deal with them women clutching their purses and shit because they see my hat. Military, yeah, hey. I mean, I was down, boy, y'all hear my, I was down in the streets and down in Chinatown in Boston. And we were lost, me and David Haley, the Alex Haley's grandson. That's who I spent the time with up there that night. And this couple was coming out of a restaurant. We was looking for the harbor. And they was coming out of this real swanky restaurant down there in that part of town, you know. And here me and David Haley, two black dudes, when they walked out the door, his wife was petrified. She was so petrified to see, especially this big black dude out there, you know. The husband stopped to say hi because he was looking for a cab or something. She took off in the rain, walking down the street with an umbrella on in the rain. And the first thing he did is turn and acknowledge that I had on my army hat. You a military, you a veteran? Yes, sir. Vietnam vet. Proud of it. And then he gave me my props. You understand what I'm saying? So there, I have learned this. If I hadn't had that hat on, I told David, he'd have ran down there behind her. He'd have hurry up, got the hell away from us. But that gave them a chance. Then she came back and he told her, he said, man, this is a military, this is a veteran, baby, come on. And she still was looking over her shoulder. She was kind of, woo. Okay. So
hey, Richard, this was all happening in Boston?
That happened in Boston, down in Chinatown. So, I mean, oh man, I'll go back into my Boston trip. I'm dealing with this lady on the bus in Kansas City when we got back. And when I was telling the lady at the radio station, KCUR, about it, I said, you know, she was one of those, what is it, horse shit and gun smoke. That's what we used to call country and western. That's what I used to call country and western, horse shit and gun smoke. That's what that, when you talked about them singing country and western music, that's what it would be about. And I said horse shit and gun smoke to her, and I said, I mean, country and western. She started cracking up. I said, this lady was no doubt in my mind, she was a horse shit and gun smoke person. Probably wouldn't have said a damn word to me, even with my hat on. But the reason she spoke to me, because she said, aren't you a veteran? I said, yeah. She said, tell me something. How do you feel about what just happened in Afghanistan? That's where America is. They're pissed. They are pissed off about what happened in Afghanistan. And I said, well, I'm disgusted. I think it's utterly ridiculous that we left Afghanistan and left Americans stranded over there. Boy, that made her go all the way off. And it all came out. And she told all about how she was feeling, how disgusted she was that was going on, blah, da, 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 da. Now, that's not Republican Democrats. That's Americans. Americans are very upset. And I'm talking about your working class portion of the population. Okay, so we might as well get ready for this. And when those immigrants get here and start going out looking and getting jobs, you can expect that portion of the population to start reacting. Okay, because they're pissed. And they feel like Americans getting screwed. You know, and in a way they are. I mean, we don't normally have to look at this stuff. We leave it up to that part of the governing body that handles those kinds of circumstances, and we really don't deal with it from where we are. Well, anyhow, I had that conversation when she called back. She was just, oh man. Oh,
Richard, are you talking about immigrants from Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Talk about refugees.
Refugees, refugees. The ones that they flew back into this country. The ones that are on our military bases right now. And we got 100 people, we got at least 100 Americans stuck over there in Afghanistan that can't get on a damn plane. And they got refugee camps set up in our military bases in foreign countries all the way back over to, I think they got some that's down there in Tennessee and different places. I think if they're not there, they're coming there. And people are pissed. On top of everything else they got to be pissed at. But I mean, that's just.
Are people pissed that we got lied into a war 20 years ago that never should have been started? Because that's what I'm pissed off about.
Yeah, I know. They don't go. That's what I'm saying. This is a different portion of the population. These people are the ones that not necessarily, because when they went into that war 20 years ago, we had been attacked. They felt justified for doing it. Okay. They didn't have the facts and figures that you would have or people in the know would have as far as America over there trying to take over and rule somebody else's country. That's not what they got. What they got is that Afghanistan was harboring bin Laden. That's what they got. Afghanistan was harboring bin Laden. And that's all they knew. And when we went to war, it was retaliation for what they had done on American soil. That's what the American public knew. They supported that. They supported that. As it dragged on, what they did was kept a head count of Americans dying, you know. But this is the reaction in the real world from those Americans dying. I heard conversations, and I even could agree with it, when 2,000 Americans had died. Okay, what people in the real world were saying, 65,000 people died in Vietnam. And when those soldiers came back, they wasn't even respected. 65,000. So you're gonna talk to me about 2,000? See, it never got to that point. Right or wrong, I'm talking about the psychic of your real American. When I say real American, I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, your grassroots persons out there working on the world and working in labor positions and stuff, going to work every day, good Americans, good productive citizens that love this country, love their family, do things. I'm talking about my parents. It could be my parents. You know, they wouldn't, that the main thing that would have been bothering them was the fact that they still remember how many people died in that Vietnam War. You know, I remember.
And Richard, when you say people, you mean Americans.
Americans, yes.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
how many hundreds of thousands of people we kill that were innocent.
Yeah, that ain't got nothing to do with it. That don't have anything to do with it. That's what I'm saying. We can't
until that changes.
Yeah,
we're going to have major problems in this country.
Yeah, I'm serious.
Aren't even willing to acknowledge.
And if you go out to approach that group without understanding where they're at as far as their mentality is concerned, you're gonna misfire. You understand what I'm saying? You're gonna misfire. You'll find them being in arguments with you and stuff. You know, that lady on that boat, on that bus, could have very easily fell out in an argument with me if my answer had been contrary to what I answered. I answered that way knowing who I was dealing with, Hardshit and Gunsmoke. You understand? I didn't go in with the logic that I could have had about the whole deal. I went in with what I knew she would want to hear about the fact we left Americans, because that's what is angering people. Okay, so that's the difference between the two. Yes, any number of people dying is an issue. Yes, they're over there right now. With those women probably going to end up being slaughtered out there in the street, being supported by Americans to fight against the Taliban, so they can go over there and be free. Okay, that shit. I mean, come on, you in somebody else's country, brother. I mean, you go that they got them going to school, and they put the first thing they did was put a big curtain up and got them on each side of the room. You know, and then they go outside when they're in the street talking shit, and they started shooting at them yesterday to break up those crowds. So, I mean, we in the midst of creating, I mean, we got 100 Americans who can't get on the plane, and the White House says they don't have no hostages. Well, what are they? What are they? You know, they can't leave. Some lady snuck out of the country through the back way, and she had to, going across mountains and shit to get out of there. Because they got the planes blocked. You can't even fly a plane. That's sad. I mean, so, I'm saying, so that's where we are. And I'm thinking with the people that's coming in the country. I've been in a meeting already where the first thing, one of the, which would be considered real person, Latino lady said was that she's a great worker. She loves people. She if anybody needs anything, she's the go-to person. If it's bedding, if it's clothes, if it's job, if it's yards needing to be cut, she's the go-to person. She set up and said, well, here we go again. They're going to do the same thing with them that they did with the Viacom. They're going to provide them with housing. They're going to provide them with stipends. And the next day, they're going to be providing them with job training and jobs, and they'll be working and boom. Okay. So, I mean, that's the core feeling that your everyday American has. Okay, that's the core feeling they got. I love my job because it gives me a chance to speak logic to them, because my whole story is about creating contributors. If we don't create contributors, we'll always find ourselves in a position of being dealing with racism. That might be another thing. The lady from the radio station, because I told her I'm not into that Black Lives Matter bullshit. I said, that crap is ridiculous. I said, because to me, we should be talking about the creation of jobs. We're not doing that. We're arguing with white people about how we being treated. Damn, how we being treated. Because in the inner city, we getting treated by people who are desperate for money. And that's worse than somebody calling me a nigger. I freak out my Black employees at EOF because I'm up in Boston sitting at my table talking about niggas, man. What's wrong with y'all? You can see them look around and see who's to see who's looking. But it's more of an intentional thing than it is of being a way of life for me. Okay. Because if you're working in this world, especially Black, you better wake up and realize the people who you serve, and that's what they do. They know that. But they're not making that known to the white world. And see, that's why Black Lives Matter and them groups, the inclusionary groups and shit. I mean, I don't even know if we talked when that happened. The housing people had their conference and they had all these people that was speaking, and they couldn't find a person Black to speak about nothing but inclusion. Come on, man. They haven't done nothing but created a job for her, and she's out there making money. I got things coming now. I'm on her mailing list. She's sending stuff constantly. Man, damn all that. We need to be getting people to work, okay? That's it, period. And while they may not recognize it, that's where the problem is. And Paula, my college professor, her two kids, went Friday before I left town. I left on Tuesday. Monday, she sent me an email and told me that her daughter, who just started school in elementary school, came home with COVID. And her and her husband, they rushed and got a test. They tested positive. They were negative, and they rushed her son to urgency care. And then I got an email back from her Friday telling me that her son had COVID. So both of them are sitting at home with COVID. got it at school. Yeah, I'm supposed to be going to. I created a program with the college students, the professors, and park rangers at a Kansas refuge, so that the students, about 20 of them, can travel down there and spend the day with the park rangers. They eat food while they have a meal while they're down there, go out on the trail. The park rangers will be teaching them about, the park and the animals and the trees and all the different stuff that's down there on that. Plus, this is going into the fall. So trees are starting to begin to turn, and not as turned as they could be, but they'll be able to tell them about the trees turning and blah, 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 blah. All that's supposed to go on Friday. Paula and them just the school just sent an email out today. I wrote back and said, what's the transportation? I'm not riding on no bus with no 20 students. I'm sorry. Do y'all have another form of transportation going? Now it becomes one I may or may not be going. You hear what I'm saying?
Oh, Richard, I totally hear you. And we find all sorts of events going on like this, where it seems like people, my take on it is that people are just tired of taking these precautions, and they're just starting to go wild. We just had a thing here recently for the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah.
Today.
They had a potluck. Now it was outdoors, but a potluck, so people can't keep their masks on.
They wanted us, they suggested they asked us to keep our masks on even though we were outdoors, and then they're going to have a potluck, and I'm like, then everybody's taking their mask off, and they're all not distanced, and I'm like,
they're all jammed up.
I went for the service, but I didn't stay for the potluck because I'm like, there's this Delta variant out there, and it really, if you are fully vaccinated, you have less of a chance of getting it. And if you do get it, you have less of a chance of getting really sick. But guess what? You could still get it, and you could still get really sick. It's happening.
We just saw a statistic for Washington State that of the people who have died of the new variant, not just of the new variant, but recently, over some recent period, I forget. So mostly it would be the new variant. 72% were not fully vaccinated. But guess what that means?
That means
28% were fully vaccinated.
Right.
They still died.
And they still died. I agree. And the children, like in Paula's case, her kids are under 12. They don't have shots for
vaccinated.
Kids.
They cannot be vaccinated, right?
Okay. And you don't think about that till it affects someone. These are babies, man. It's tough. It's a tough situation. Boston. First of all, they had the storms. I'm up there in the room going, hey man, my TV won't stay on. What's wrong with my television? It keeps going on. And the lady at the front desk goes, well, did you ever consider it might be to this storm we have it outside? I'm on the 21st floor. I ain't even looked out the window. I'm laying in there. Hey, what's wrong with my TV? So I wasn't the only one feeling that way, because everybody talked about the next day. So I went and looked out the window, and you really couldn't see it up high, but down on the streets, you could see the water flowing down the street. I went, wow, we were blessed that the storm went beneath us. Okay, that storm was bad in New York, New Jersey. That storm was bad, man. It killed people. Pennsylvania, it killed more people in Pennsylvania than it did in New York than it did in the South. Okay, drowning.
Sharon's sister is in New York and other people too. So we were very much in touch with that.
Yes.
We were complaining we're having a bit of a drought out here. And her sister was saying, we wish we had a drought out here.
I know they do. I know they do. That's what makes it so bad. The water was rushing up in the damn subway. When we went to Chinatown, David Haley's a trip, y'all. He's a classic Black American. And he's very good at what he does as far as relating and talking to people. He's a politician to his heart. And so he can talk to people. He can just charm anybody, man. He's just busy as he can be. And he and I, we make a good 1-2 punch. Everybody I'm with is a 1-2 punch with me. But I grew up, my mama and daddy was in Washington, D.C., but his daddy was a politician too. And he grew up there, so he knew the subways. I know the subways. I know how to run the subways. Come on, we going to hit the subway and we going to Chinatown. So we go to China. We get out there. We down there on the damn subway, man. My knees are bad, and we end up having to walk up and down them subway steps. I mean, by the time I got to the train, my knees are aching. I mean, they buckling and everything. We get off on the street at the Chinatown and walk up to the street, and the first thing we get is a crack addict, a chick, a Black chick with them big old eyes. When they look at you with them big old eyes, and they realize these two people ain't supposed to be here. They must be from out of town. These two people don't hang out in this neighborhood. You got college students all around. Boston is a college town. We found that out. Most of the folks that are there in most of the areas are college folks. They got a neighborhood with rent $10,000. I said, what that's about? That's to keep poor folks out. And there was a Black dude standing on the corner looking like a bum, a homeless guy. And I said, it's obvious to me that man's over here. He don't live over here. It's obvious to me he over here looking for something. You can just see him standing there. But we started walking around, and somebody had told us about a restaurant on the wharf, on the harbor. So we tried to get to the harbor, and we saw this dude, and he told us, y'all go back up a block, make a left, and just keep walking. That'll take you to the harbor. And the guy I'm with, he said, well, hell, we ain't got to walk back up there. We can take it right here at this corner. When we started going down that street, it was pitch black. There were no lights on. The only thing down there was 2 strip clubs. Looking like something you see in a movie. And David's back there going, is there a cover charge? Dude, he said, yeah, it's $10 a head. He said, okay, well, we looking for something to eat first. We might come back. I'm out there, go, boy. You ain't nowhere in the world I'm gonna be back on this street. I mean, then we started seeing some college kids taking it as a shortcut. I mean, dark as hell. Then we got back on the main street. Then it started raining. And we out there in the rain, man. Oh, shit. That's when we ran into the dude and his wife. We were in the rain and shit. But still, it gave us a chance to see it. We negotiated it. Made it back to the main street. We was going the wrong direction. That's what the guy whose wife didn't want to talk to us, he told us, the harbor's in the other direction. Oh, shit. So we turned around and started walking back. What's the school? A school, Edison College or something like that? Yeah, it was a college downtown. Emerson. Yeah, Emerson. Yeah, Emerson. It was right down there, right connected to Chinatown. A bunch of students. So that was safe. That felt comfortable. You didn't feel out of sort there. We made it back down. We didn't see, but that one woman, one crackhead. The rest of them, we didn't see. If they was around, we didn't see them. But people, the Blacks aren't familiar there. In other words, there's not a lot of Black folks hang out in that part of Boston. And you can tell that by how people look at you and shit like that. and there was a black dude coming out, walking down the street with a sack of food in his hand he had bought somewhere. And so I said, hey, when I said that, he almost didn't want to speak. And I said, hey man, where's that good restaurant? Chinese restaurant. And he went right there, right there. And he was talking about on the corner. And it ended up being a real nice one. We ate there. I enjoyed it. I mean, it was cool. Got a chance to see some local cuisine, and you know, with that East Coast attitude and shit. But we hung, you know, it was cool. We hung. But it was like you're talking about, it was shoulder to shoulder shit. It was packed in there. Every table was packed. They're gonna make their money, and no regards for the virus or COVID. None of that shit in there, man. It was clean. It was a clean place. It was okay. Vietnamese. So that made it different. And I ended up with some Saigon beer, you know. And she said the waitress kept saying, what kind of beer you want, you know? And I said, hey, man, just bring me a beer. I mean, what kind you want? I said, what, Budweiser? She said, Bud what? I went, why the hell you ask me what I want? I tell you, you don't even know. So I said, just bring me something. She said, so don't matter? I said, no, just bring me something. And she brought me a Saigon beer. That was pretty cool. I kind of made the being there fit real well. The thing that got me about the trip that feeds into where we are, and this is the subject matter that I want us to explore, how the industry is not reaching people. We have to, that has to become a podcast story. Oh, I know what. Check your calendars and see what y'all doing September the 20th. Right now, just look at your calendar. September the 20th from 6 to 7. That'd be 4 to 5 your time. Same time we on now. It's a Monday. You gonna be open?
Yeah, we're open.
We're wide open that day. We don't have anything on the calendar.
We have something for 4 o'clock or 4:30, but we could switch it.
Oh,
I want y'all to be my guests on Eco Radio.
Cool.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I told him I want y'all to be my guests on Eco Radio. Now here's the deal.
At 4 o'clock.
What time?
4.
6 to 7 my time. The same time we on right here.
4 to 5 our time.
Yeah.
We're 2 hours off, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops.
2 hours behind.
Yeah. And we might have a conversation about starting to do a podcast on Eco Radio.
Mm-hmm.
I told them about us talking about it and wanting to do it out here, but I don't know if we'll be able to do it. She started asking me questions that I wouldn't know the answers to it. I said, you two would. And that way we can have a conversation about why we would want to have it. I want to have a podcast that's addressing the fact that we're missing the low income population as far as the environmental movement is concerned, you know. And I think that the problems that's going on with getting the people in the low income community to take these shots, a lot of it has to do with the lack of a climate change consciousness. And no one is talking about creating a climate change consciousness. They just take for granted, if you build it, they'll come. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the mentality that the nation has. Their thing is there's no programs being offered. That's not it at all. And they ought to be able to see it with these shots. People are coming up with all kind of excuses about why they're not getting these shots. And the reality of what that would do, you know, let's say polio, how when they were able to eradicate polio, it's because they gave shots out to every damn body that they could, and we were able to get rid of it. that kind of conversation is not being held in the low income community. My brother don't even hold it in church. He takes honor of standing up on a podcast, on his a Facebook showing every week and talk about how it's all about God. If you don't have to be dealing with this stuff these people are trying to do, God will provide for you. He'll protect you. You got to put your faith in God.
Right. That's why God helps you get a vaccine.
Yeah, well, I'm serious.
Yeah.
And it is the issue we have in this country that various groups have various agendas, and we have to find another way to incorporate them into an American agenda, even though it's not their agenda. Okay, and that's what, as a nation, we don't do.
Yeah.
You know, even I don't care, Biden, y'all of his advisors, they tell him just go in there and tell him to get a shot. You know, or if you don't get a shot, or if you get a shot, we gonna cut your money in the school system. If the school tells that makes it mandatory that the kids wear a mask, we are going to cut your money. Yeah. I mean, that's our method of dealing with this.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And I'm saying we have to come together as people. I constantly keep repeating to folks what we learned even in the Vietnam crisis, you know, when we were being drafted out of schools and stuff, out of colleges and stuff. You know, when you got in there, you hear, you know, together we stand, divided we fall. That's what makes America a great place to live. And we got to get back, we got to get away from this wanting my agenda to be recognized and adhered to. I recognize it. You know, if I was I'm in the congregation, but I'm not there. I wear gloves and I wear masks. You understand? Because you got people I'm seeing on TV walking around there, don't have masks on, don't have gloves on, shaking each other, clapping hands. I'm not in there. Leave me alone. You know, in Boston, I had my gloves. Hey, no gloves on up there. I did. Don't care nobody. All the 10,000s of people that's touching stuff. And then I'm sitting up in the room after they wore me out. After David Haley wore me out down in Chinatown, I said, damn, I'm going to class. I'm going to go up here and get me some rest. I took me a couple of pain pills and I climbed up in the bed and I was gone. All of a sudden, a big buzzer goes off in my room. It says, attention, attention, emergency, emergency. If in fact you hear a beep when I finish talking, head to your exit and exit the building. Take the stairs and exit the building. Emergency, emergency. If you hear the buzzer when I start talking, man, I'm sitting up, what? I jumped up and I'm on the 21st floor with a bad knee. And I'm sitting there, I said, oh man, let me put some shoes on. I put some shoes on. And I grabbed my little pack, my backpack. I said, I'll throw the computer in here, nothing else. I forgot that computer when I get out of here. And I hit for them steps. Boy, I mean, when I got to the door, I opened the door. It was some white women going by, scared the shit out of them. See this black dude coming out of a thing with a mask. So they went, right there. And I said, go ahead. And man, and I had to take floor by floor, 21 floors, all the way down to, and they didn't ever know what it was. I get out there, I get all.
Did it explain what it was, like a bomb scare?
No, they did not. When we was going down them stairs, no, nothing. And every floor, more people was coming on, more people. Some of them would come on with all their luggage and shit to load it down. So when we got outside, they just hit a buzzer, said it's all clear, you can go back in. And nobody had told us why. So I went and asked the guy, but somebody talked to a dude, one of our girls, and he told him that it was a false alarm. Okay, you said they're going, what's to keep it from happening again? You understand? So, it's a false alarm. They had the fire department there. I mean, they had everybody in that was handicapped had to stay on the 3rd floor. So they had a special way of getting them out of it. I mean, you had people that was, you talk a couple of thousand, 2,000, 3,000 people then standing out there in front of the hotel, Marriott Hotel, man. And me and my knees, I could barely walk. But it was a nice place. And I really enjoyed where we were. They had a California pizza kitchen across the street, and they had a shopping center across the street. Fifth Avenue was across the street, and they had a shopping center that had a lot of retail shops that the people there at the conference really enjoyed. Even the Black folks, they went all through it. They had restaurants in there. A lot of times Black folks coming out in the city, they ain't used to going through them stores, and they don't feel comfortable going in Fifth Avenue and all that kind of shit. That ain't what they want to see. But they went over and they was enjoying the stores, and they had what was it? What Cheesecake Factory. They had a cheesecake factory, and so they went there to eat and get drinks. But then what I liked and I took pictures of for my thing that I'm doing on my development is they had a probably a 30, 40 story hotel over there. And the ground level was like a Whole Foods, which was, I thought, awesome. Okay. And I thought that would be the perfect kind of situation if you build in a community. Can you see an inner city that would have a residential stay, a night, however it is, that was attached to a Whole Foods, where you got places you can buy food that's already made, and take it back to your place, or you can buy groceries and take them upstairs. The prices, I think, were pretty relatively where they should be. It wasn't like it was exorbitant for being in Boston. So the first night, while they was out sitting in restaurants, I'm not eating in restaurants. I ordered me a pizza and a Thai salad, took it up to the room, and I went and bought me a bottle of wine. And so I had me a ball. I was drunk as a skunk. I mean, I called him on the phone and tell him, y'all looking for me? I'm in bed. I texted him and told him, if you're looking for me, I'm in bed. She called me back and told me they was still waiting on their damn food. They're 2 hours getting any food.
Hey,
crazy.
Richard, I want to go back to the radio show. How do we do that? Do we do that on the phone, or how's that going to work?
We'll be on, the way it's done, we'll be on Zoom.
Oh, on Zoom.
I will give my girl, her name is Terry, y'all's contact information, email and phone number. She will send you all when it's the week, probably around Friday. She'll send you an email, or if not, she'll do it Monday morning with the link to the Zoom thing, and she'll send it to your email address. Okay, so that way, you just like when you send it to me to get on here, she'll send it to you to get on. The last show, something screwed up, and we had to all call in. Well, that information is on there too. So we wasn't on a Zoom. We were able to still talk to each other because of, we might have still been on the Zoom. Yeah, we were still on the Zoom, but we had to talk on the telephone to be heard on the radio. The Zoom can't be heard on the Zoom can be heard on the radio. They can't see us. They were okay because it's the radio, but we can see each other. It's a mess. It's a mess. I mean, it's because you don't see. She'll be trying to make us not know when to talk and when to talk, and putting up signs. You got a minute before we got to take a break and all that kind of stuff. But we work it out. It'll be fine.
Yeah, sounds great.
Oh yeah, I think it'd be good. I think it'd be good for them to hear y'all. It's an environmental show, so it'd be good for them to hear from the West Coast. Nobody deals with folks on the West Coast. And especially up in the your area, Arkansas Island, up off of Washington, Seattle. What's going on? I mean, what are people dealing with? And and me, I talk just like I talk here. I make sure that I believe in. I don't like what do you call it? Scripted conversations, because the reason people who listen when I'm on listen is because I consider myself to be them. And it's like if we just having the conversation like we are right now. That's the way I do my show. And I'll ask questions, and when you answer it, I'll have questions behind that. But in our case, I want to talk about, I will figure it out by then how we talk about it. In fact, I had thought about getting Terry on one of our calls. If next Tuesday she could get on the call with us and we could talk about what this podcast could be about. That would give y'all some kind of background information. So when we go on the air, then we have that conversation. You can filter in, because she won't be on the call on the air. She could, because she's there. It'd just be the three of us. And I think that'd be good.
All right, that sounds great. Yeah.
Okay.
So
now
next week we'll talk with her as well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can. I'll talk to you about it. I may have her get on with us next week for 5 or 10 minutes of when we first get on. In other words, have her get on like around 6 o'clock, and then we can shoot questions at her right quick, and I'll let her know she can be on up to about 6:15 or whatever, and then we go on our regular stuff. Okay, but that'll give you two a chance to meet her.
Good. That sounds great.
Yeah. Now, business wise, we with Rick is back, so we're going to start concentrating again. First of all, the book is off the hook. I want y'all to know the book is that I'm writing is blowing my mind. And Michael, I'm gonna need your help seriously in working this out. Now, this is strictly classified information. You ready? This is strictly confidential. Only people that I'm talking this about are those people in my network. Okay, on the computer. On the computer.
Richard, before you go, do you want us to turn off the computing? The recording. I'm sorry, while we're doing this.
Oh wow, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, let's do that.
Just
yeah.